All right. Oh,
What you got there?
let me see here. Sports Car International from December of 1994. Vintage, my friend.
Oh,
Uh, it's an old Steve Millen book. It's actually pretty good. Um,
awesome.
it,
Is that a
it
recent eBay find or what was that?
require no, actually, it's just one of my. I have two of these. One for party, and then one for the crypt. So the one in the crypt is in plastic and everything else. This one's just like on the coffee table. Kid can put boogers on it, that kind of
I,
thing.
f-
So
I figured it was next to the toilet
it
myself.
is next to it is
Yeah.
toilet. It is toilet read. So what's
Each had
crazy
that
is like
Yeah.
people come over to my house and they if they have to use the facility, they're like, man, you have the most extensive toilet
Choice.
Z or Nissan material just to read. He goes, I can read about the new. All the brochures for the new Nissans, that's when I catch up on most of my reading is when I'm in the facilities. So yeah,
Talking about decades of Z knowledge at your disposal while on the toilet.
and in a
That's
pinch, if I don't like it, I mean
yeah.
it has a second use.
Excuse.
So yeah,
Oh.
so moving along.
They all been black flagged, I'm sure, at this point.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
duplicates for sure. So
duplicates. All right, man. Well, hey guys,
man,
for those who are with us, welcome to another episode of the Nissan Nerd Podcast. This is a special episode.
it's a mini.
Miles, I'll let you do the episode, the honors if you want
Yeah,
to let people know what we're up to.
so this will be episode 70.5 because we're going to be calling this a little mini episode. Since we've had such a large span of time that's kind of passed on, this is why we're just doing a little mini recap. We're going to continue our normal shows here in the future, but we figured, we haven't talked to you guys in a while or had you on an opportunity to listen to us. So we figured we would just give you a little mini show. But again, welcome to back, everybody. This is the Nissan Nerd Podcast. On this special episode, we are putting the spotlight on ZCON 2023. That's fresh in our minds. We're just coming back from that. This was just last week in Southern California. So we're going to be talking heavily about that. There's lots of action from the events that we're going to be recapping. We've got a lot to share, and we'll be talking a little bit about maybe the Gran Turismo movie that's going to be hitting theaters here pretty soon, too, as well. So chill out with us. Let's go into episode 70.5 of the Nissan Nerd Podcast.
All right.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you missed
mini
that song?
episodes. Yeah, it's been a minute. It's actually been a hot minute. I mean, we've probably taken a 2.5 week, 3 week time off,
It's
but
probably close to three right now, but
yeah,
yeah.
but it's been a hot minute. So, but yeah, I have missed it. So, yeah. So let's get into catching up with each other. It's been a good minute. I know we've seen each other in passing. You and I actually just attended a local Nissan club meeting as
hmm
of late, and that's where we kind of caught up about your trip to ZCon. You were actually lucky enough to make it out to ZCon here recently,
hmm
and but in the interim, you and I were trying to organize a time to go see the Gran Turismo movie together. But we kept missing it. I know
We
you went and saw it in another city. I happened to catch it you got on the hot ticket with Nissan to go check it out in Austin, Texas.
right. So yes, we were trying to coordinate seeing it together, and just the way fate would have it here, I got to see it maybe a few days before. I say about a week ahead of
Yeah,
you.
you saw it about a week before I did, and then I got a tap on the shoulder from a group that I am associated with for like journalism and stuff like that, and they just said, "Hey, do you want to go check it out?" I was like, "Sure, I'd love to go
Oh
check it out."
yeah,
So
and
I was able to kind of jump in a seat and go check that out here a little bit early.
good.
So go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, good point though, man. Because we, I don't think we've been able to talk about it personally
No.
since our last episode, man. Just for a minute, dude. I was gonna say, what kind of feedback did you get? Did you watch? Now they did stipulate that this was, I think, with these sneak peeks, they are the pre-production version. There's still some fine tuning that they're doing to it, I think.
Yeah, I think that what I saw was a bit of a pre-production. But I think I don't know. It's hard for me to say. I seem it felt like it was pretty much a finished product to me from what I saw. Again, we haven't compared notes exactly what the differences were,
Yeah,
but again, I caught it and I okay, well, let's just go into it. So
go for it.
you had an opportunity to see it. I had an opportunity to see it. What is? I'll give you an open platform for takeaway. What was your takeaway from it?
Ooh. All right. So, obviously, it is plastered with Nissan logos, the cars, which I got. Obviously, this is the podcast, right? We're super excited to see this. Um, I did see. Obviously, this is based on a true story. They're taking the elements of Sim and trying to like integrate it or let the movie watcher see how street and sim kind of migrate together. You see where the character is driving the car for real, but he's visualizing the line from the sim, or something of that nature. So I could see how they were trying to just show this transition, and it's based on a true story. So it's like this is actually a story based off of the UK GT Academy. Um, the one thing that kind of took me for a spin was early in the movie where there was a scene that kind of felt a little bit more Grand Theft Auto and less Gran
You're
Turismo,
talking the theft of Dad's car, that
something
part, and
like
then
that.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I was like,
So
come on, man,
we're not going to give too many
this is
spoilers here
that's
tonight, but
that's
just
probably
kind of
the
give you a brief. But
yeah.
so let me see my takeaway. You know, you have to look at the project as a whole. And so this is very much obviously on Sony's dime, but with investors like Nissan coming in and throwing in their branding. There was a lot. Fanatec is
Mm-hmm.
in there quite a bit.
Yep.
There's there's a lot of branding in this movie for those that don't know. So if you had an opportunity to see the movie, I do have to let you know it is pretty brand heavy. So especially for Nissan. Though the one thing that kind of got me is it had to play a balance between so many different things, between folks that are racing enthusiasts, that are the the virtual drivers
Mm-hmm.
nowadays. I mean, it's a massive group, now, and gamers in general. So they're trying to appeal to that group as well as folks that like myself that grew up with Gran Turismo and are fans of that, plus racing fanatics as well that are going to probably see this movie. And then you've got your hardcore brand loyalists for Nissan that are in it. So there's a lot to kind of cater to. And when I
Right.
started to step back and look at the movie, I feel like it plays well to all those. It kind of gave a homage to all that. Like
It
there's these little scenes if you're a Z fanatic,
yeah.
like in Jan's room early on, he's still in his parents' home, trying to make this break into the virtual gaming contest, and he's his goal is to win this contest to get the opportunity to compete against a bunch of other kids to eventually become a real live racing driver. And in the backdrop of his room, there's like all these pictures of like Datsun S30 chassis. There's
Mm-hmm.
like gaming stuff that's back kind of plugged in there. A lot of Easter eggs, if you will, if you kind of know what you're looking for.
Yeah.
But I mean, again, coming back from it and watching the whole movie, there's so many opportunities for this movie to be bad. You know what I mean? On the
Yeah.
cusp, because you're
Yeah.
trying to capture a lot. And I
Well,
think for what they did a great job capturing it. They did a great job with all with trying to put you in the position of all that stress of having to be adaptive in the change and the
yeah.
pressures of being a gamer in in a racing world, and everybody expecting you to lose and everybody expecting you
Whoa.
to fall on your face. And surprisingly, and I'm not taking away from Jan's moment here in the movie at
Mm-hmm.
all, but like we know Brian Highcarter pretty well. We see him, and for those
Mm-hmm.
that don't know, um, the GT Academy at that point was, I believe, in the third season. Brian Highcotter won the U.S. version of that
Same
Jan
year.
won the
Yeah.
UK version of it that were happening in the same year. And I remember when I first met Brian, he was going through this situation where I was literally watching people interview him. First time I met him, and there people were interviewing him, and people were giving still at this point razzing him about being a virtual gamer, and then they were always
Eh,
expecting him. But the point is, at that time with Jan, he had to be going through the exact same thing. So I don't think that any of that was embellished. I think the
yeah.
stress of that was true, and
uh,
and they do a good job putting that on him.
Yeah.
And then subsequently he had a crash, and everybody's just kind of harping on him. And I'm sure
Yeah.
the internet comments were
Yeah.
not good at that time years ago. So go ahead.
It's a really good point that you bring up. One about the movie being that you have multiple demographics in that theater. I think the main one that I hope is Nissan demographic or GTR demographic. But then again, from there, it starts to get a little bit divided, right? You have the old school guys that, sim wasn't even an option, in their youth. And then you get the ones that do, who have this ability. And I think within the last 10 years, you're really seeing the advantages that sim have and how it's playing into this future generation and current generation of these young drivers. So I think this movie has a lot of opportunity to maybe mend the gap between old school and new school type of racing
Yeah,
methods
I can
or
see that.
training.
Yeah.
I think so too. And then,
You,
yeah,
yeah, I wanted to say too, it was kind of, you know, for myself, I've grown up on Gran Turismo. I mean, you and I, when we get
me too.
together, hell, what are we
We
doing? We're racing each
we
other in
we
Gran Turismo
You
when
bring your
we
steering wheel over. I got
I bring
my
my
steering wheel
steering wheel
plugged
over, we
in, and
split
we're having.
screens, and we're just going at it. And then that's just how we do. But it's like, I mean, we used to race all night years and years ago with a bunch of other like
Yeah,
Nissan fanatics that we knew back then. And
yeah,
we would have it'd be some of the best times I've ever had, just racing against each other and chatting and BSing. And that's what gaming is. So I I, I want to say it's kind of like a bit of a love letter, to the Gran Turismo life, the Gran Turismo gameplay and the community that's associated to that a little bit. I would
hmm
think I wanted a little bit more of that, but I mean, there's so much that they had to accomplish in this movie, and I think that there's a lot that they cut out
Oh
through
yeah.
his life story, and then some of this is like a little longer than it appears to be with the circumstances.
Yeah.
But if you take all that
Well,
into account, they did a good job for telling the story from end to end, in my opinion. So
I think you're right too, and I think I mentioned it before when Ion and myself had seen it in Austin, which was that um, um, you would think some people might think that a movie that's this how you mentioned with brands and it's kind of a promotional piece might be a little short of a movie. This was a
mm,
full 2-hour movie, and I give them a
well,
lot of props for doing that. They had to develop a storyline that was capable to keep you entertained for 2 full hours, and I
and it,
think they did it as
and it
well.
did. Yeah, and there was enough action, and people who don't know anything about any of these type of topics, and they just go for a nice action film, they'll still be pleasantly pleased, in my opinion. It's not too bad, and there's
Yeah,
enough information to kind of it it would intrigue you, and then keep you captivated until the end. So I think that's not too bad. So
I
again,
agree.
I enjoyed it. For those that don't know, the original launch date, I think this got pushed back for most folks. I
It
In
did.
my neck of the woods, I'm here in San Antonio, Texas, and there are these scattered previews that you can still catch in our area. So technically, if you wanted to go kind of today, you could probably find a
If
screening
you
in your area. Again, I do not know what part of the country you're at, or what country you may be in. But keep eyes out for that, because it seems like there's sneak previews popping up all over the place. So I would
I,
highly recommend checking it out if you get an opportunity. Officially, though, drop date on this is what, the 28th, 25th.
25th, I believe. Yes, it's
Yeah,
been
that makes sense.
pushed, but you're right. If you really go searching for it, you might find a theater that's kind of because of that delay. And I've heard is about there's of course for anybody who's in the movie industry, there's a writer's strike happening in Hollywood right
Yeah.
now. So I think the delay has to do with the effects of that strike. So, but it's
Mhm.
still slated to come out. So the 25th is what is that? 2 weeks from today or from tomorrow.
Yeah.
But again, you can't if for those of you, if y'all really try hard enough, y'all might be able to find a theater that is kind of showing it a
Yeah.
little
And
early.
I'd highly recommend checking out a little early, beat the crowds, and go do that.
Hmm.
So, but that's everything that I've been doing. I've just kind of been at home working on cars and same old BS. Now, you got obviously back from ZCON. We're not going
Yes.
to, we're going to dive into this a little heavier later on, but anything else going on in your world right now?
Well, yeah, I was going to continue about from our last episode. I was under some house renovations, and honestly, th- still still ongoing, still ongoing. I have my green screen with me this time around, but however, we are still one room away from completing this house renovation. I'm talking paint and plaster and tape and float. For anybody who's a carpenter, you know the amount of steps that it takes to kind of remodel an entire room or entire bedroom. 3 rooms down, one to go. It's been a full summer project, honestly, man. I'll probably be sharing. I haven't shared any of the pictures online through my personal social media, but I will as soon as it's done. I want to have these real nice before and after photos. And for those who have seen the house before, the walls were orange and now they're not. And that's a huge difference. I feel so much better inside. Since I moved in, it was such an eyesore, but I knew it was one of the first things that I was going to do to this house, and sure enough, here we are. So I'm feeling a lot better about that.
That's good, man. Yeah. So, well,
Yeah,
like I said, glad you're back, and let's continue on with the show. And like I said, didn't mean to side rail on the Gran Turismo movie, but it was coming out. We were talking
yeah,
about it last episode, and I think people really are super excited about seeing it, like as we should be. So,
yeah.
again, I wanted to give some acknowledgement out to everybody that's joining us here tonight. Thanks for being here.
Yes.
Let's see who's on with us tonight. Let's see
Yeah,
here.
I can do.
Uh,
I can do a little bit if you want on that.
yeah, Mr.
Y-
Papa John Papa Sergio, Mr. Papa
yes.
Giorgio in the flesh. Um,
Hello.
uh, Thanks for being on here with us tonight. Dennis Whittakin, Little Fuji, he's on with us here tonight. Edgar Furman, yeah, man, he goes, I missed you at ZCon Miles. Yeah, man, I didn't make it. My apologies, dude. Speaking of GT, add that release. Uh, Odd that
Was-
that release for got pushed back for a couple weeks. Yeah, you're right. I think it got pushed back from what Mike said. The writing guild just for whatever reason just maybe that interrupted with their release dates for some silly reason. Dennis
Mhm.
chimed in here said, "Did y'all all see that Katajiri-san gave Hoshino-san serial number one Skyline Nismo at the reveal a few days ago?" I
Oh,
did not.
I'm
That
sorry.
slipped
That's
under my
news.
radar. Jesus. Give us more info on that one, Dennis. That'd be awesome, dude.
Yeah,
But dude, that's big news. Actually, that sounds
I,
pretty badass.
that would be something that I think we should definitely recap in our future episodes, which will be not too long from now. That's got to be a really good highlight piece for sure.
Oh yeah, let's do
Yeah,
it. I'm down for it. But
yeah,
let's see what we got going on. Other than that, we actually are overdue for a compi here in the episode. Now,
yeah.
for those that don't know, we do a salute to those in the Nissan family whom we wish good health, and to those we may have lost, and we want to be reminded of them often. Little compi,
Let's do it, guys. Join us if you got it. Gunpei. Clink.
compi. Mm, I'm gonna add in a compi here too as well for those that
Mm-hmm.
don't know, or you've been sleeping under a rock. Um, and this has nothing to do with the Nissan world whatsoever, but one of my personal heroes, Mr. Pee Wee Herman, Mr. Paul Rubens, the actor in case in point, unfortunately has passed away. This happened just a few days ago.
Yeah.
I've been a huge fan of his for years. Um, I ran into him here in San Antonio and had an opportunity to meet him on a personal level. Super nice guy. For those that don't know, he had the Pee Wee's Playhouse that ran from 1986 to 1990, and then I believe he did the Pee Wee's Big Adventure
The movie.
and so forth. But
Yeah.
for those that noticed our promo pic, we actually took an opportunity to do a little face. Um, yeah, a little face swap. So,
I thought that
uh,
was fun. Yeah.
yeah, I was Pee Wee and Mike was Simone. So yeah, we
That
had
was.
some fun with that. But
I think what I was gonna say though, Miles, that I when I first saw it, You were the first person I thought of when I saw the
Oh,
news
yeah,
because I knew you've been a fan.
yeah, I've rocked it pretty hard most of my life. For those that know anything about me, it's there's only a few things that I'm like into on the side besides Nissan stuff, and unfortunately, Pee Wee Herman. Fortunately, Pee Wee Herman was one of those things. So
And
yeah, it
and
stinks,
if you,
but
and you know, I'm not sure if you remember though, we've actually used Paul Rubens as a punchline here on the show a few times because
yeah,
whenever we're like doing a movie or we're talking about something, but we can't remember the name of the actor or the guy, your first name out of your mouth is Paul
always
Rubens.
is
Like
always Paul. It was always Paul Rubens.
it always cracks me up when we would do that. You know? Yeah.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but like I said, he's passed, and he's moved on, and yeah, he'll be missed in our world. So yeah. But
Wow.
Spinny Mathengy is also with us. Hi, boys. Good to see you live again. Yes,
Mhm.
I know. You see
Thanks,
here.
guys.
Too early for me to take a drink, though. Cheers. Oh yeah, that's right. Your neck of the
That's
woods.
Brad. Hey, Brad. Thanks for joining us, man.
You could
We
just pour a
we
little.
met.
Nobody's judging.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Hey, no one's looking. No one. You know, we're cool. N- We. I was. I'm getting ahead of myself though, but I did meet a few other Australian Z fans at ZCON, and we'll get into it. Stick with us, Brad. Man, you might know them. For sure.
Yeah, long trip to
But
make it all the way from that side of the world, the other side of the world, to go to a ZCon. That's awesome, man. That's dedication.
it's an
So
interesting story. Yeah, for
let's
sure.
let's get into it for sure. I mean, the big story that we're going to be talking about tonight's episode is going to be recapping ZCon 2023. For those that don't know, this is actually the 36th annual International Z Convention that just happened here last week, that took place in Ontario, California. This went on from the 731 up until August 5th, and was hosted by the Group Z Sports Car Club in coordination with the ZCCA, Z Car Club Association. So they put on a hell of a show. Great job. But again, I want to give Mike the opportunity to kind of talk about it from his perspective since he went.
Yeah, I figured, honestly, up until now, I've been trying to be tight-lipped to tell you these things so that we can just tell you for the first time and get your reactions and of course talk about it. That's what this show is meant to be, right? So, yeah. Ontario, California, kind of east of LA, by not too much. That Group Z Sports Car Club hosted it, and honestly, for you and me, for me, this was my first ZCon since 2021, which was in Colorado Springs. That's the one that me and you went to,
Mhm.
actually. Uh, but here, 2023 has been the next one, number 8 for me. I think you still dwarf me on number of ZCons, but for me, it's the 8th ZCon. Yeah, yeah.
It's okay, man. I mean, I started early. I mean, hell, I went to Vegas, ZCon, and that
2000.
was a long time ago, man. And I didn't know anybody back then. So, and it's just, the crazy thing is, it's like anything else that you go to and you kind of fall in love with, as it were. And ZCon is kind of like that welcome back home kind of feeling, and it really is.
It is.
You kind of, it doesn't, it feels like a real vacation because you got to see everything you want to see as far as cars. You got to do driving. Competitive driving in some form or fashion is always available if you have the gumption to do it. And then of course you start to meet people. You get to just catch up with tons and tons of people, and I mean, it's always one of the best events. If I have the opportunity to go, it's one of the best events of the year for me. So, and they've only
Yeah.
gotten better. I mean, ZCons were great to begin with.
Mhm.
Now they are just like on a stellar level. You get so much for the experience. So, and this year was no different. So,
Exactly. When it comes to Nissan festivals and conventions, this is one of the biggest ones, in the world. It is the international level. You get fans from different countries, different continents, for that matter, and for good reason. It is a really good show. Um, I wanted to say, as far as what was new to me since the last ZCon, was that we had some new special guests with us. There's always a segment where there was a tech talk or conversation with our special guests to just talk, nerd out, literally. And this year was the first time that we got to meet with Chris Wills, who is a former Nissan racing engineer and the author of a very, very awesome, very thick and heavy book called, and for those who might know it, Developing a Champion, the Electromotive Nissan GTP Story. And if you look at this thing, Jesus, man, you can you can really hurt
Yeah,
somebody with this book, man.
yeah. I actually have the book, and yeah,
Yeah.
it's actually a very extensive read. There's a lot of diagrams. Some of the aerodynamic and the wind tunneling stuff that they were prepping for, they would make like little mini die-cast models, and that's how they would spend hours and hours wind tunneling everything. I mean, there's so much like nerding out. You want to talk about a nerdy book
Hmm.
that like fills every checkpoint that you could want for information. That is it,
Yeah.
and it is a hell of a good read. They also have a very excellent Facebook
Mm.
page. If you get an opportunity, you
Oh.
should check out his Facebook page because it has tons and tons of information in there. If you're truly a fanatic about the electromotive era of racing at that time. So,
What I really liked about his presentation though was because I'll be honest, prior to meeting him in person and watching his presentation during the tech talk, um, I'll blame ignorance or not knowing as much as I should have regarding the work that was being done. And he gave a really good presentation talking about the challenges he had and the people that were part of his team and the contributions to some of those notable team members. And by the end of that presentation, man, I was sold. I was hooked. I was like, I gotta get this book, and I've got to read it because he was so. I mean, even from an entertainment perspective, forget being a nerd, but you can also be so entertained. I think by reading this book, and it's a full read. So I'm really looking forward to breaking this thing open here and checking out some more. And a small note, Miles. Chris Wills was part of when he was touring with this car as an engineer. This car was the one that made its way through San Antonio for the Nissan Grand Prix. That's one of the
really,
events that we always talk about. We've
yeah.
we've had these eBay competitions where we're buying the poster that says San Antonio or our hometown.
We're trying to
And
out nerd each other for San Antonio when they did the race here many years ago. So
yeah,
yeah, it's pretty funny.
he I asked him, I go, hey man, what do you, correct me if I'm wrong, you've passed through San Antonio a few times, haven't you? He's like, yes, I have. I was like, what can you tell me? He's like, what do you remember anything specific, And he was telling me, I think it was like the second half, because I think there's 4 years here. He spent, I think, two that he remembered most notably about a certain start where he was like second position, starting position at the beginning of the race and there was a collision with the Porsche. It pushed him to the back of the pack, but he still finished second. Some really cool stories though, man. It was really cool to relate to him, and I really look forward. I would really hope he can make his way out to a future ZCon again because I want to give him I want to bring those catalogs and brochures and posters that we have and actually have him sign those.
Oh, that'd be epic. So,
Yeah.
let me see here. Dennis chimed in. He goes, he wanted to mention something about Ontario. He goes, Ontario has some big Nissan and Datsun history. Ontario Motorsport Speedway held the first national series race in the USA, paced by a Japanese car, a Datsun 240Z.
Isn't that awesome, man? I love. Again, we're not the only nerds, man. I love this. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, John mentioned here. He goes, bought the book. He goes, it was pretty awesome. I mean, anytime you have an opportunity to meet the legends and you can pick up the product that is associated most notably to them that is tangible in your hands, that's always a cool thing. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
very awesome. I'm sure
Uh,
it's going to end up in his massive collection of cool stuff that he has at his place. So yeah.
yeah. Let's move on though. I was going to mention as well as far as other firsts when it comes to ZCon. For me personally, one was that there was a die-cast car trading night for those who are a fan of model cars,
All
big,
right, all
different
right.
scales. You even get into the Hot Wheels game. You had multiple tables. That was a lot of fun there. And then also, I think which is really important is that this was the first year that we saw the return of many of our Japanese Z Car Club friends who traveled from Japan to come be with us.
Yeah.
It hasn't been since before the
COVID.
COVID
Yeah.
thing that I think. the Japanese restrictions have been lifted and people feel safe to travel to come see us. So we were very honored to have our Japanese delegates visit with them, and I visited with a few myself and old friends, and it was a lot of fun to do that.
Yep.
But yeah, aside from that, ZCon, it really is a family reunion, though, man. If you want, if you're up for it, Miles, I can give you a day by day, and let me know what you think.
Hit me. John chimed in one more time. He goes, Chris also has a Shelby Can-Am car like he does. So that's.
Oh,
I'm sure they were sharing notes out in the corner when they were done nerding out about Nissans. They were nerding out about their Shelby Can-Am cars. That's awesome, dude. Man,
I I believe it. I would believe it for sure.
that's awesome,
Yeah.
man. Kudos.
Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and
uh,
get into it, guys. We want to give you a day by day, at least a personal recap of the show for those who weren't able to make it. And again, for those who are with us online, if you want to chime in, let us know, man. We will share your comments as we go. But Monday was the opening banquet, as per tradition. I'll be honest, personally, I was not able to make it, but I was able to speak with a lot of guys. That's typically where you recap preview the events, and I think what a lot of people look forward to afterwards is the traditional Texas chili party hosted by the Z Car Club of Texas. A bunch of Dallas guys have been doing this for a really long time. The head of that Texas chili party is Bob Bossy. And honestly, I spoke with him. He said they ate it all, man. Sold out. Every bite of chili was done, and he really, personally, he really liked the how that chili turned out, man. So, uh, again, always a badass, always a cool guy, Bob Bossy, man. So, uh, good news there. For me personally, though, I made it just shy of the Nismo Z reveal, which took place in front of the host hotel, and that's where you had Nissan and Nismo delegates publicly officially reveal this car to the U.S. Um, Actually, while we're at it, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. This is going to be a slideshow in no particular order of the week, and I hope you guys can enjoy it while we continue our recap here. So let's get into it. But anyway, the Nismo Z has been revealed, and honestly, it was on display the entire week in front of the host hotel and at all of the events. There it is right there. Um, Later on that night, Society, which many of you know is it's based out of Southern California. It's a huge um, social media, you might call it channel or car culture. It's got a huge following. They partnered with ZCon to host a cruise through downtown LA, and most notably over one of its infamous bridges or famous bridges, which is the Sixth Street Aqueducts. I'm not sure if you recall that, Miles.
yep.
Um, it's recently been renovated. It's an entirely new bridge. It's beautiful. You'll see it here eventually on the screen. Us passing through. I did not have my car with me. I actually flew in. However, I was able to grab a passenger seat for the cruise, and fortunately, I was able to hang out with my Atlanta buddies in LA. So that's what I was doing. Not only was I enjoying the cruise, but I was just catching up with some good friends.
The LMP2. Sorry, I got
Yeah,
lost in the.
I took that picture for you.
I
Yeah,
know it's like there's
yeah.
only a handful of colors that just kind of like make me giddy, and LMP2 is the color code, man. With that purple
LP2. Yeah.
midnight, ooh, it's good. Anyway, moving on. All
Yep,
right.
yep. The Society cruise ended at a particular stop, which was a car storage facility, which had a Hakosuka Skyline GTR on display amongst a notable few other cars. A lot of the cars that were on cruising were able to park themselves at the facility, walk around, hang out, listen to music, connect. Really good time. It was live until about 11 o'clock at night. It was a late night, man. Lots of fun.
Well, who doesn't want to hang out there? I mean, Jesus, come on.
It really is. Moving into Wednesday, though, that's really where a lot of the festivities that we know and love began to kick off, and most notably, that means it is the judged car show, the ZCON judged car show. Um, what I liked so much about this car show, and it's not every time, it's not every year that you get to do this, but it was indoors, man. It's hot. We all know we're in the dead heat of summer right now, and you get inside a really nice convention center that was walking distance to from the hotel, and you really couldn't have asked for more, man. Nice, quiet. You weren't baking in the sun. It was a really nice touch, for sure. Tons of cars on display. A lot of them you are seeing here on this slideshow. And then also you had your sponsors. I was able to speak with a few. Um, our buddies Skillard was there on site. I was able to reach out with some of the AMS performance guys out of Chicago area. We had a bunch of good friends though that we've known in the past miles. We had to catch up with for sure. And once that show ended, later on that evening was the bust cruise to what they call the hump days. It's Wednesday at this point. It's with the hump day, right? It is a social evening. This year was at the Marconi Museum, which is it's probably about an hour away, 40 minutes to an hour away. But cool thing is that for those who decided to go, you got In and Out Burger as a dinner, which is a notable Southern
California
California.
feast, if
Yes,
you will.
yes. It was a
So
staple of California, In and Out Burger. You had ice cream as a dessert. You had, of course, a open bar, not open bar, I should say, a bar
open
for those
bar,
who wish to
dude.
partake. Yeah,
All right.
and again with some of these photos, the Marconi Museum, it is open to the public. For those who get a chance, I definitely encourage you guys to do it. Just as car fans in general, the history of John Marconi and the Marconi family is amazing. In fact, John Marconi he was on site. He actually gave a small presentation near the end of the evening, and man, he had everybody's ears. He is such a great speaker, man. Um, Afterwards, he was able to connect with a lot of us and talk with a lot of us, and he's a motivational guy, man. Honestly, um, so I had a great time there. He had a lot of memorabilia too, Ferrari memorabilia, F1, a bunch of his personal cars. It really was a great time, man. Um, and that was Wednesday, anyway. Uh, Moving into Thursday, so that's one of the things too, man. You have one of these social evenings and you stay up late at night, and then of course the next day is a motorsports day at Willow Springs Raceway, 2 hours away. And for those who had to compete
Yeah.
or who decided to compete,
It's an
you got to
early
drive
morning.
2 hours
Yeah,
super
Willow
early.
Springs. If you've never been there, it's in the middle of the desert. I mean, it is a drive, and hopefully you don't hit traffic. You're probably not going to hit traffic going out. You're probably going to hit traffic coming back. And when I've gone there, and I've been there maybe what 3 times. I've hit traffic 2 times out of 3. I mean, the local boys in California could tell you, they could probably attest to that, like Edgar and some of those guys. It's just, but I'm sure they have their sneaky routes to get back into everything without all the traffic and the fun stick. So, but geez, man, look at the layout for that, um, for the Willow Springs. I mean, it's awesome. Did they open up both? Was it Willow Springs and the Streets of Willow? Like, were they doing exhibition on the Streets of Willow at the same time? Like,
Good.
they did that long years ago when they
Yeah.
did Laguna. Excuse me, they did Long Beach. They did the Willow Springs, and on the Streets of Willow, they were running like a drift exhibition back then, which was still fairly new at that time. So they were
Mm.
doing an exhibition or running like Time Attack or something at the time. But so what happened at the what did you notice when you were there?
So the layout, so I was there for about the second half of the day, which was about 4 or 5 hours, honestly. You had the main course, and then because what I noticed is that yeah, you're right. There are multiple courses on the campus essentially,
Okay.
and we were using, I believe, two of them, which was the main course, which was for the HPDE, but then you also had the drift course, which was what they call the Horse Thief Mile, kind of up the mountain just a little bit.
Oh yeah.
That's what's crazy about Willow
Well,
Springs. It's kind of on a mountain there. There's some
Well, I mean,
elevation there.
as if Willow Springs wasn't famous enough. Like, who would have ever thought that the Horse Thief Mile would be as famous as it is? But if you go and you start watching anything like on Motor Trend, they always do something on the Horse Thief Mile. Anytime that they're doing a lot of like shooting for a publication, and they're doing I don't know. This is just me. Of course, I'm a Texas guy, but everything that I see about the Horse Thief Miles, like they rent it out. They There's like so much exposure for that little spot, that little course, and it always impresses me that how much it's grown over the many years it's
Yeah,
done. I did
you're
want
right.
to chime in a couple things. Dennis said, "Hey, don't forget about Wednesday hotel power outage." I heard about that. I saw a bunch of
Ah,
Facebook
yes,
updates.
you're right.
Apparently, there was a massive power outage at the hotel, and everybody started breaking out like glow sticks and booze, and I even saw
I
Chris
do
Carl do a post about I survived
survived.
the annual ZCON power outage or something like that. It was pretty funny. So let me see here. For those folks coming back from the track, they wanted to chime in and say, on the way back from Willow, I skipped the traffic and took Angelus Angeles Crest. That's new
That's
to
a
me.
really
Is it?
nice cruise route for sure.
So
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Edgar said this is the way he got out of everything as far as the traffic. He goes, we stayed by the track for dinner to wait out the traffic. Smart man. So
I kind of did
drift,
the same thing. Yeah,
yeah,
I'll get into that in a second
and to
here. Go ahead.
confirm, the drift exhibition was on the
Yes.
Horse Thief Mile. So
And that's right, and that's the thing. So the Horse Thief Mile was a smaller track, just like you said, and that was, I want to say, it was made for drifting. It seems like, because it seems
yeah,
like such a perfect fit. The number of curves and how short it is
and
made
it's
it the
got
perfect
elevation
drift
changes
track.
from what I've seen. I've never been to it, but from what I can see, it has all these elevation changes.
Tons.
Especially like there's this one part where it's I won't even try to nerd out on it if I haven't been there, but
You've got a right curve going up, and then
you
you
know
got
what I'm
another
talking
one.
about,
Yes,
right? And it
yes, yes,
transitions
yes.
into a yeah. Okay, got it. All right.
It's really nice. So that's where, honestly, that's where I was for most of the event. Was at the drift exhibition at that smaller track because, of course, as one of the special guests, you had Chris Forsberg on site with his Ultimaniac drift car and his Formula Drift new Z car. Um, he was giving out rides in the Ultimaniac and the drift car. As part of the deal this year, you had to sign up and be a part of the raffle to be able. There it is, right
Okay.
there. So you really had to sign in and become eligible or to win a seat. Um,
Hmm.
in those cars. The man, when you saw the Forsberg truck pull up and the number of wheels that they have to swap, tires that they have to swap out to keep that thing going, it's insane, man. It's most notably, it's the rear tires, right? So I want to say each set of tires got one, no more than 2 sessions before they were swapping them out, man, because you're just
Really?
smoking them, dude.
Jesus.
That's how much they're smoking. And there are times where, again, you're seeing, you can't see the car, but you see the smoke with those elevations and hills. They're just lighting them up the entire track, man. It's a lot of fun, honestly. Um, had a great time, man. Honestly, was able to chat there with the Forsberg team just a little bit. If you saw the photo, I hung out with our boy Bernie. We've had him on the show before. He was on site. He was able to sit passenger and have one of those seats. I want to say he had a great time. I wonder if he's with us, but either way, give him a shout, man. He'll tell you all about it for sure. Uh, Lots of friends were able to go ahead and get out there and enjoy themselves.
So
Yeah.
anything else about the Willow Springs, and how was all the rest of the running? Did you get an opportunity to check anything out as far as like Willow Springs?
Regarding the main track and the HPDE, I'll be honest, I did not. By the time I
Oh,
got back down to the main track, the the
it was dying down.
session was
It was
essentially over. People were
okay.
packing up,
Okay.
which was unfortunate for me. I just spent so much time up there.
All right.
But by the time
If
I
you're
got back, yeah,
I was
go
to
ahead.
say anybody that's on with us and has a really good main track story, let us know. We'll
Yeah.
talk about it here on the show. I'm sure Edgar's got like
Yeah. Well,
tons of stories. Let us know.
that's
So
right. Well, I should say that I ran into Edgar, had a great time because, of course, we've had him and John on the show with Nissan Challenge. I was able to meet these guys in person, had a great conversation, having a lot of fun with them, meeting them in person, and a handful of guys, man, honestly. Um, uh, did a lot of fun. Uh, John Papa Sergia did say as well that, of course, yes, Z1 Motorsports was at the track, big time in force. They had their full size rig and canopy, and had a few cars out there, and they were also giving out rides as well. Um, uh, Also, Edgar just chimed in. He did say, "Yes, I was able to fix my car halfway through the day. Was able to squeeze in a few sessions."
nice, nice, dude.
Honestly, man, I'm not too sure if for many of you guys who follow Edgar, there was an entire story with his Z32 300ZX and having that car prepared in time for the track day. And I was told that I need to get with this guy and talk some more about it. Honestly, it might be worthy of another interview, man. The amount of dedication this guy had to get in his car at ZCON and enjoy a few sessions. Um, Essentially half an engine build. I'll just tease you and say that much, man. Um, Pretty damn cool, man. Yeah, yeah,
That's awesome, man. Yeah, it seems like everybody had. I mean, looking at all the pictures, this
yeah.
is probably the most epically photoed ZCon that I've ever seen. And I'm sitting at home, and I felt like I was there. And maybe it's just because I follow like 4 billion people, within the world of ZCon and Z nerds. And there was just so much coverage and so much footage that I'm still going through like lots of stuff. And people are still dropping stuff as we speak. They're filling up their updates and everything, and there's tons of stuff. But yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, Edgar. Yeah, sorry I missed you, man. It was funny that I wasn't going. I was like, damn, I'm gonna disappoint Edgar. It's like one of the things that came. But I'll tell you what, you
Cool
would be
guy.
proud of me. I wore the Nissan Challenge shirt while I went to go check out the Gran Turismo movie. So
Did
yeah,
you really?
yeah, I had to
There
represent in
you
some
go.
capacity.
Hell yeah, man.
So
Hell yeah.
yeah, I had to. So anyway,
That,
um, give a little shout out. So
for sure. Now, following the HPDE that day, there was what was happening next was that there was a theater night at the Fox Theater closer to Los Angeles. This was actually an event that I signed up for. However, I was not able to attend. And Miles, I think you might get a little jealous here, but
yeah,
I was hanging out with Miss Haley Myers there and on site, and Mike Kojima pops up, man, and I know you're a big fan. I sent you a picture. I was trying to rub it in. I was really trying to rub it in that I was hanging out with your hero there.
yeah, I know, I
We
know.
end up getting dinner, man. We just like the what was mentioned earlier in the comments, what Edgar mentioned. We went and got dinner after the track day to kind of wait out traffic. So we found a little Mexican restaurant next to the track. Spent about 2 hours hanging out with your hero, buddy. Got to know Mr. Mike Kojima. Pretty cool, man. Had a great dinner. So I want to give him props as well. Uh, are you crying? I can't see. Are you crying?
No, I'm just trying to ignore you right now. So it's all right. But go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah,
No,
yeah.
please continue on with your bragging. I enjoy it. I know everybody
I
else
know.
does. So
Well, I was able to talk with those who did attend the
mhm.
movie night at the Fox Theater, and the event with the movie that. So we were all speculating, what was this a movie going to be? I was thinking it was going to be the Gran Turismo movie because of how heavily Nissan is in that
It
movie.
would make sense. Yeah.
It seemed only fitting. However, a lot of us were in for a real surprise, and this was actually a upcoming movie. It was unfinished, but I mean, very close. I would want to say it was a movie which showed the uh, the development of the 240Z, and I'm talking behind the scenes, design center, production facility, the process, and a lot of the things that were happening back in 1969 when this car was being produced. A lot of it was in Japanese, from what I was told, but I was also told that when the final version comes out, which should be made available to the masses, either I assume streaming, it will be available and will have either English subtitles or dubbed in English. But a lot of people enjoyed it. They said it's very insightful. A lot of the footage that they saw has never been seen before. So I kind of lost out a little bit there. Also, let's see here. I'm going to chime in with Dennis here. He just chimed in. He said, yeah, had footage of the first two test cars being air freighted from Japan to the U.S. and being driven around the U.S. Um, that's that's what part of this movie night was of. So very exclusive content. And Dennis also did say that the YouTube this feature should be available on YouTube around Christmas time.
Oh wow.
So, yeah, yeah, yeah. So it really was a treat for those fellow nerds that were able to make it. I'm sure you really enjoyed yourself. Again, I paid for it, wasn't able to attend, but it is what it is. Um, Aside from that, what a lot of people were mentioning was the uh, unofficial meet. This next event was sort of a unofficial meet. It wasn't exactly uh, hosted by ZCON, but it was hosted at a facility called Aeroworks Motorsports, and I'll be honest, man, I was just following the Waze app to get there, man. It's so crowded. That town, LA, is so busy, so full. I just followed the map to get there though. But Aeroworks Motorsports is a facility in the Los Angeles area, and this night, by the time we got there, man, was so packed with people. Like it was like Fast and Furious, the first Fast and Furious movie esque, where it was nothing but skylines, essentially, all generations, pretty much. Um, and They were hosting not only the cars and the meet, but it was because they were able to bring in Tamuro-san, which is the chief executive responsible for the R35 GTR for much of the sports cars that we know and love, including the new Z. He was on site giving autographs. Um, really great time. Actually, my mistake, it was hosted by Sean Lee. Thanks, Dennis, for that one. Um, you'll see some photos here. There you go. Right there, man. If you see inside this facility, you had the new Z, you had the new Nismo Z on site. You see that LP2 R33
LP2.
Skyline. That was a Spec V version. So rare, man. It was so cool to see. Here's the funny part. You see this here? Bugatti, Lamborghini, Ferrari
Parked out in the in the alley.
in the corner. Nobody cared about those cars. It was so cool to see. It was really so cool to see. Nobody cared at all about those cars. It was really a Nissan night. Maybe you might call it a GTR and Z night, specifically though. It was packed, man. Truly packed. You really had to wedge your way through the crowd to get your eyes on so many of the different skylines that were on display.
Is that the
Again,
guys from Super Street? No, that's not. Oh,
no, no, no.
okay.
This was part of the tech day. Those pictures you're seeing right now were part of the tech day.
Okay, got it.
But the autographs that were being taken or
Oh, hey,
being
pause
given.
there. Pause right there. Pause that car.
Pause. Pause.
Pause.
Pause.
Pause. Go back to that car.
Oh shoot.
Don't worry about it. Let it run. So
Let it
I was
roll.
just saying, of
Go
all
ahead.
the cars that I have, of all the nerdy things that I have at a glance,
Yes.
no, I've got the magazine for that car from
You're
1976.
76. You talking about this one?
Yeah, yeah,
So that is Jim Cook Racing, Miles. You would have really liked this though. The wife of Jim Cook.
yeah.
Did you have it? Did you just have it on your hand there? I didn't see you. There it is. Oh
Hot Rod,
wow.
Hot Rod magazine, February 1976. They
Whoa.
modified the car a little bit. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So the wife of Jim Cook and the son of Jim Cook. So were actually part of the tech talks. Not to
Oh,
mix
really?
things up here, but they were part of the tech talks. They were talking about the development of this car, I believe it was this car or one. He had a few on display. He actually built this car out of
Yeah,
fiberglass. The
it's all
fiberglass
it's
components.
all completely fiberglass. And what's funny is this article gives you all the black and whites from that vehicle that are all done in fiberglass. Like I mean, the whole thing's done in fiberglass, and it's great. I mean, it's great. And for those that don't know, if you're sleeping on it, you can still find it. But Hot Rod Magazine, February 1976, when they still featured something, I guess, like you would say, imports. But there they are. They do a whole spread on a 210. There's I believe it's a 280 at the time, and then it's a 620. So yeah, it's great. It's funny. Like this is just one of the magazines I have on my side. It's crazy that it would just be there. I just saw it and I was like, I know that car.
Wait a
So
minute.
I know
Yeah.
that car. It's all fiberglass. The wing from the whole front end section, yeah, all of it. So pretty cool.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah.
again, I'm just nerding out. Moving on. So
That car was on display. Jim Cook's wife was able to give a nice presentation about this car. Cool note about this car though was they were living out of an apartment complex at the time, and this car they literally built like a storage box to store
to
this
ship it
car
in, yeah,
overnight.
it makes sense.
Well, not
Yeah,
even that.
I mean,
It was literally in the parking lot just to protect the car from whenever they weren't around it. It
yeah, I
was
could see that. And then also
pretty
probably from the
cool.
sun, considering it's fiberglass. A lot of people don't realize that with fiberglass, you really have to watch out for the heat and all those type of things. But I don't know what the temperature were in Callon at the time, but yeah, I got it. John chimed in. He goes, I thought I heard her say number one was steel. It could be. I
I
wasn't there for
think
the presentation, but
it escapes me, but I mean, if you heard it, I believe you, man. You're a fellow nerd. I believe you.
yeah, well, like I said, but maybe we'll have to go. We'll have to hit the bricks as far as the information on that. So yeah,
If it wasn't too late though, Miles, I did want to chime in with what Dennis said, which was the glow sticks and the power outage at the ZCON host hotel.
yeah,
Actually, that did happen on Wednesday night, just after the Marconi Museum. So yeah, we walk in because of construction that was taking place down the street. The entire hotel was just pitch black. All the rooms, luckily because of the weather and how dry California is, and you really see a nice temperature drop overnight. So we got really lucky and not having to sweat too much that night. But yeah, the front desk was handing out the little LED lanterns, and I believe a few were handing out glow sticks, having a good time, trying to make the best of it. Yeah, it was a first. It was a ZCon first, having this power outage at the host hotel. It was beyond ZCon's control, but I think we really made the best out of it.
nice.
Yeah, yeah, man. So anyway, getting back to it, guys. So that was Thursday. We got through the Airworks Motorsports facility. We really, personally, man, I closed that thing down at midnight with everybody else. Really great time. Moving into Friday, so we're getting near the home stretch here. Last 2 days of ZCon. Friday was the host of the autocross and drag racing at the Irwindale Speedway, much closer to the host hotel than Willow Springs. So I think people probably enjoyed that a little bit more. Uh, Personally, I was not able to make it though, but I did catch up with a lot of people who were there, and they really enjoyed their time. The Later on the following day, there was awards given out for the fastest autocross time and fastest Z on the track. I believe the fastest Z did go to the AMS Performance guys out of Illinois and Chicago for their Alpha. The holy their flagship car, which was the new Z. It was a Proto Z that was breaking in. I think they're at 8.7 seconds, 8.79 seconds, I think. It's
Hmm.
an amazing ride, though. Um, the second half of Friday, though, was Tech Talks, and that was sort of what I was talking to you about just earlier, Miles. That evening, we had multiple speakers on site. I believe The tech talks lasted a full 5 hours. If you include the people on the stage giving the presentations, and then afterwards there was a Q&A session where everybody, all the speakers got on the stage, sat behind a table and were able to answer questions. And then at the same time, there was the diecast exchange program. Had a few guys in the back corner trading and selling Hot Wheels and scale models that you can make yourself. A full evening. I think it was we were going on until about 11 p.m. that night doing all of that. That's where I mentioned earlier the Chris Wills presentation. Awesome time. We had Tomuro-san, who we said earlier is of course the chief executive behind the GTR and the Nismo Z, the new Z, multiple Zs actually. That is his baby. Was able to accept questions from the crowd and really insightful information about the new Z and specifically the new Nissan Z. He really gave a lot of good information on about those cars. The JDM Legend guys, of course, we know them guys. Eric and Josh Martin, which we've had here on the show before, were at ZCON this year. Peter Brock, John Morton, a handful of others. Man, it was a full night with some really good people, man, and we really enjoyed our time there, for sure. Um, and of course, the last night, guys, we're talking about Saturday. This was the first half of the day was at the People's Choice Car Show. This was outdoors. So for those who haven't gone to ZCon before, the People's Choice Car Show is the larger of the two car shows, for multiple reasons, by the way. Some being that, I won't lie, some people feel intimidated by the Judge Car Show. Maybe they feel that their car isn't, at that level, so they don't show their car that day, or they don't compete at the Judge Car Show, but they will show their car off at the People's Choice Car Show. And so for that reason, you get more cars on display. And then also, it's on a Saturday. A lot of people, especially the people that are regional, they they have no problem coming out on a Saturday to show off their car, as opposed to taking a day off during the week. So the People's Car Show was full of a lot of cars that you didn't see at the Judge Car Show, and a lot of locals as well and their builds. Um, Again, I'm sure for those of you that are joining us online, you're seeing a lot of those photos that I took during that Saturday. But I gotta tell you, man, it was hot. California is known for its low humidity, but it doesn't mean it's not hot. There was a lot of scares, you might say. Some people getting really close to passing out. You gotta hydrate, no matter what. So that's what we were doing. And then, of course, sponsors. Our buddy Skillard was there as well. Z1 was there. You had Nissan Challenge guys on site. Power Tricks, buddy. Our friend Charles Park, old friend of yours, Miles, was on site. I gave him your regards. Let him know that that you couldn't make it, but you were thinking of him.
Yeah, yeah. Me and
Yeah,
Charles go back. I'm back to the TT Net days, and Charles is a good guy. Always been nice to me. And yeah, for those, I did want to also give a
please.
shout out to a friend of mine, Joseph. He actually had it for those that did attend. He apparently was out at ZCon, and because of the heat, he actually suffered a little bit of I'm thinking basically heat stroke, and he passed out. Luckily, I want to give a shout out to those that were able to give him aid,
Yes.
and they checked on him immediately. The response from what we were told was immediate. As far as those folks that came and checked on him, and he made a great recovery. He put it up on one of his Facebook posts. But I've known Joseph for years, and he did have an incident. He was drinking his water bottle, and he passed out with his water bottle in his hand and literally drove the water bottle into the top of his lip. Thankfully, no surgeries, nothing other than a little bruising and some pride. Um,
Man.
as we're he I think he put in his post. He goes, "We're not spring chickens anymore." And he goes, "But yeah," he goes, "the heat will do that to you." But I'm so glad that no injuries or anything happened. But I did hear there was a little bit of a car fatality in
Mm.
that regard. Is that right?
Yes, man. It was so hard. It was so heartbreaking to hear this. But we mentioned Mike Kojima and spending some time with him after the track day just a few days before. He was on his way to the People's Choice Car Show with his 2014 GTR, and he said he was sideswiped. But I really think that was a kind way of putting it. But it seemed he was more like T-boned on the B pillar of his GTR by
Yeah.
I think a Corolla of some sort, some other driver. He is fine. We were able to see him. He was just like himself at the car show, but unfortunately, I don't know what the judgment is about the GTR though. But I think by what many people are saying, by from those who saw it, it may be a total car. It was really unfortunate, man. That car was beautiful. I drove behind him on the
Yeah.
way back into California after that HPDE, and beautiful car, man. It really
Well,
was.
I mean, it's
So
the Moto IQ flagship, right? So you could see it in almost
yes.
every back video that Mike Kojima does on the Moto IQ. And if you're still sleeping on Moto IQ, get woke, get on the Moto IQ stuff because it is the nerd of all nerdy information that's out there. And there's some great articles and lots of new technology for us. Car guys, whether it be on the motorsports aspect or just if you're just a guy stretching the legs on your car and you really want to get well informed about what's out there. The cream of the crop as far as products are usually at Moto IQ, and they don't pull punches and they don't bow to sponsors. If it's a good product, they promote it. If it's a bad product, you're not going to hear about it from them. So again, if you are still sleeping on Moto IQ, don't. But again, I hope you like the GTR that was in the background because it's now unfortunately dead. So hopefully
Damn it.
they'll get something cool Nissan based here in the future and
I'm sure.
Mr. Mike Kojima, aka the Nissan God, will come up with something cool here and in the future. So we'll see.
Yes. Again, side note, side plug here. MotoIQ.com is where you want to go to check in on any of this information. And yeah, you're right. We may be seeing a blog
Man,
from
some
him
great
regarding his
cars. I'm just
GTR
looking at.
sometime
I
soon.
mean, I'm nerding out on some of these photos and on some of this stuff. That's just awesome. JDM's Legends cars look amazing. Some of these restos out of the Nissan garage. That LP2 vert is like
Yes.
400 photos, and I'm not complaining. I'm enjoying. So yeah, it's
Ah,
great. Anyway,
that
but
LP2 was so cool, and I took that picture specifically for you, Miles, because it
I love that color. It's just
it's a beautiful color, and you know it's not the original because it's a convertible that's twin turbo. In the US, that
uh,
wasn't an option.
yeah.
A-
And
And then
TT. I mean,
LP2,
they're yeah. Come on.
yep,
Everything about that
yep,
car
yep.
is modded but subtle. Yeah,
But
it's nice. So
the setup was beautiful, man. I really enjoyed that one.
yeah.
Yeah, I took those for you, man, because I knew you'd love it.
No, thank
Um,
you. Appreciate that.
yeah, yeah. Well, I'll keep these photos going on in the background here. But anyway,
Dennis
yeah,
chimed in. He goes, "Biggest turnout at a ZCON Saturday show in a long time," and I would agree with him 100%. And it was hot, so even with the
yeah.
heat, people still turned out with that. So I mean, kudos
Well,
to everybody putting in the effort. I mean, you definitely got the payoff with that. So for all
that
their efforts,
y-
yeah.
for sure. And that being said, it was outdoors. However, there was a lot of pavilions that help keep you shade. But it really was up to you to decide to stay in the shade and to hydrate. But yes, it was a huge showing, man. It really is something that ZCCA should be proud of with ZCon for sure. Edgar also did chime in, say that he did have a personal friend that did pass out that day, and
Ouch.
I do need to make a correction. The Jim Cook story I was mentioning earlier was actually Yolanda Atkinson, part of the Prima Donna Z that was in the box. So there was a Jim Cook Racing,
I was
the wife
Yeah,
of
I
Jim
was gonna
Cook,
say this is the
and then
car
there was
behind me. That's the prima
this
donna
was
car
yeah,
behind me.
that's what it was, and this was the the story I mentioned with the box and at the apartment complex was part of the Prima Donna Z. So thank you, John, for
Yeah,
correcting
they
me, man, for
because they
sure.
were like because when you said that, I was like, I don't know, the prima donna was like famous for the box on like the forums for the longest time. People would always it was like a joke, a running joke that they would have this box that they took the vehicle in all the time. So I was like, when you said that, I was like, oh, okay. I was like, I guess they were copying him. And I was just, but yeah, that's cool. Well, I'm glad we corrected that. So yeah, but yeah, again, for those that don't know, that's the original vintage photo of him still doing the fiberglass back in the day. So yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So, all right, yeah. So at that, after the car show on that Saturday, it was time for the closing ceremony. We wrap everything up. You take a full week worth of festivities, and we do the send off essentially that night at the host hotel,
mm,
the Hilton DoubleTree that it was. Of course, a wonderful dinner that day, per usual. You once the show began, we started getting into the live auctions, silent auctions, live auctions. Some amazing product that was being auctioned off. A lot of rare stuff as well. Um, a lot of it did obviously had its historical value. A lot of these items that end up going off for auction have come from personal collections of longtime Z owners who decide to donate their item to
mm,
charity, and that's what this auction is. You're actually donating, and the proceeds from that auction go to the charity of choice for that year's ZCon. So this year was no exception. A lot of the items were signed by Mr. K himself, and Masuo-san perhaps as well, just to give a few examples. So a very full night at the closing ceremony. It went off wonderfully. Um, the I think what we need to do, man, it's really just give a shout out to the team. This was really this aside from that following morning giving out donuts and coffee. This really was the big hurrah, the big hey, see you next year moment at that dinner,
mhm.
and it was a really great presentation for sure, though. But I thought to give a shout out, guys, though, for the Group Z Sports Car Club, the entire team. They did an amazing job. I was able to actually speak with the chair of that group, which was Mr. Jeff Agner. Uh, Dude, I've done a ZCon myself in the past, and I understand what kind of pressures are involved with putting on a show of this level. And every time I saw this guy, he had the kindest smile and the kindest voice. He really kept us cool throughout the entire event, man. Such a great attitude. I really enjoyed having him around. He was um, just a great host as well, a great chairman of the event, along with the ZCCA. The ZCCA, of course, is partnered with the Z Sports Group Z Sports Car Club. And the ZCCA, we definitely want to give a shout out to. Of course, we're talking about Mr. Chris Caro, Fred Buini, Bob Bossy, Mad Mike Taylor, Dennis, also on the podcast with us tonight. Thank you for contributing to this year's ZCon. We had Brad out of the Austin Club, Mark Lambert, Josh and Britt Lyman, JLE, Mr. Justin Lucas Eastman was on site, definitely contributing throughout the entire week. Robbie Atkinson from the Alabama Club and ZCCA was on site. Props to him. And of course, Cade Mertens, our boy, uh, having lots of roles there throughout the entire week. So these guys did a wonderful job hosting ZCon. Our apologies if we missed a few names. I was just trying to.
We know there's a lot of
Uh,
people. Again, we've done ZCons ourselves and been volunteers and organizers, and we always miss a lot of names. If there's anybody that you feel that we may have missed, go ahead and drop their name in the comments over here in the next few moments. But again, we and then we probably won't catch everybody. And again, it is there's no lost love there. We definitely want to make sure that everybody gets the noteworthy that the note the notes that they can on themselves. But again, we can't always get everybody. But again, you know who you are. You know you're out there. Just want to give you a big shout out and a big thank you. So yeah.
yeah. We did get a few notes here. Dennis did also mention that his shout out to Jeff. He says a real stand up guy, epic organizer. I agree with that as well. And honestly, yes, one of the highlights that Dennis mentioned here during the live auction was one of the sponsors, Sac City Auto, donated an entire VQ37 VHR engine and transmission with harness to
What?
be sold and raffled off. Right. So anybody who had this car, which would maybe a 370Z owner, G37 owner, you had your opportunity to
Get hooked
essentially
up.
get hooked up. It was a six or $7,000 value, and
Yeah,
it probably went for closer to. I think we were able to raise about 4 grand, 4 to 5 grand.
that's awesome.
Great deal. I mean, people won all the way around, and of course, all of this goes to charity. It
Jesus,
was an
that's a good
awesome event.
price.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh my god.
On other honorable mentions, of course, I'll just put them here. Uh, from Dennis here, he says Jeff McNeff, Barry Anderson, Maiko, Izzy, Tom Clark, Linda Williams. Definitely want to give them their due, and for those who end up catching this episode, again, props. We want to definitely give you the love that you deserve for hosting this year's ZCon. Yeah. Um, anything else, Miles, that you want to drop before we talk about next year?
I mean, we can nerd out about ZCon. I mean, hell, we do nerd out about ZCons in parking lots, and we stay up till midnight or 1 a.m. in parking lots talking about ZCon while we're at ZCon. So, I mean, obviously, the nerddom does not stop. So, I'll just say we'll put a pin in it for the night as far as this last one. But again, it looked like a great event. I'm glad so many people had a good time. And at the end of the day, it was a win for the community. It was a win for the ZCA team, for everybody ZCon involved, and all for the brand as a whole. So I can't be more than ecstatic about the outcome. So that leads us to our next one. When is the next one? When's the
Right.
next ZCon that's going to be happening? So this is always every year. You never know where the next one's going to be until you finish at the end of the dining banquet at the last Z convention. That's traditionally how it's always been. So
Yep.
you went to the last one. You went to the dining. What did they drop on you? Where's next year going to be?
That's right, guys. All right, for those who don't know, without further ado, next year's ZCon 2024, which is the 37th annual International ZCon. I'll show you the flyer here now, guys. It's being hosted in Tampa, Florida. The multiple Z car clubs out of Florida are hosting this event. Most notably, here, of course, you have the Central Florida Z Club, the Sun Central Z Club, and SoFlo Z Club are all teaming up to host next year's ZCon in Tampa, Florida. This is taking place September 9th through the 14th. Some of the details have been presented at the closing ceremony. Of course, we're well over a year now, just over a year until this event happens. So far, the details say that the host hotel will be the Embassy Suites Hotel in Tampa. The nightly rate is fairly reasonable. I believe it's 139 a night. You enjoy free breakfast. I believe it's free parking. Don't quote me. I believe that is also true. There is really great. The nice thing about this hotel is that it's very close to a lot of the things that we're going, a lot of the locations that the festivities will take place. Most notably, the track day. You know how we were talking about earlier, how Willow Springs is so far away, right? Well, next year in Tampa, the track day is being hosted at the Motor Enclave Motorsports Park, and make sure I got that right here. The Motor Enclave, which is, I believe, no greater than 30 minutes from the track. It's really close. It was a huge benefit, man. It's
That's
really great to
that's
see.
anytime you can find a track next to the hotel, you're winning. So that's awesome.
Yep. Very, very close. I believe it's a newer track as well. So it really gives a lot of Z enthusiasts the opportunity to try an all new track. If they haven't been familiar with the around Florida previous to this upcoming event. So it looks really good. A lot of local attractions. Of course, you're back at another beach city. You've got Sunshine Skyway Bridge. You've got some zoos and aquariums. You got the beaches. Busch Gardens is not too far away, and then you also have the vibrant light nightlife, which is all promoted here with the flyer for next year. Honestly, I'm sold, Miles. I hope maybe we can make some time next year and keep on going. Uh, I haven't been to Florida, not in a long time, so I'm really curious to to make this event personally. Um, yeah, Dennis did also chip in here regarding the Tampa ZCon. Of course, he does say that free breakfast and parking is included. That includes free trailer parking as well. And the track day is more or less 5 miles from the host hotel. So you really got to think about how close and convenient these, most notably the track day, will be to the host hotel. Huge perk for next year. He also is saying that the managers happy hour at the hotel every evening. For those who like to partake in a drink on occasion, 5:30 to 7 each night. There is a bartender manager special happening. Oh yeah.
Open bar,
Oh,
dude.
oh, dude, open bar. More details are to come. The official website that you guys want to check out, which is zcon.org, will be revised to show this upcoming convention here in the next couple of weeks. And officially, the registration and sign up will probably begin near the holiday end of the year. So give us a few months, give the guys a few months, and things will go ahead and uh, pick up and open up for registration. For those who aren't familiar with the Z Car Club Association, you can go just search them through Facebook and various social media channels. The website also zcon.org or zcca.org, and that's where you can find a lot of this upcoming information that will be happening. Side note, Miles,
Mm,
our buddy Gary Savage, who is out of Florida, is the I believe one of the chairmen or one of the chief organizers for this event. For those who don't know Gary Savage, he has been a part of many multiple ZCon events. He is the proud owner of a 510 two-door sedan.
yeah,
Is it a
he's
sedan
a
or the coupe? Yeah,
he's a total 5'10" guy. Yeah.
awesome
But
guy.
Gary Savage is the man with Braille
Braille battery.
batteries, and he's always been a very generous supporter. Takes great photos, and he knows everybody. So
Yeah,
it's always and honestly, you can every time I see him, it's actually one of the best talks that I ever have is talking to him at ZCon. He's extremely informative, and he's just fun to talk to. Great guy.
he
So
really is. He really is. You know, there were prior to Tampa being announced. You know, that week there were some rumors, and we didn't really know for sure. But when it really surprised me, I was like, "Oh, I should have known better." Yeah, it's Gary, man. He's such a good guy, man. I really think he's him, and then coordinating with the many Z clubs in Florida. It seems like a really good time, honestly, man.
yeah.
I really look forward to. I love your screenshot right there, man. Your background right now. Open bar,
So
dude.
I just I was like, I know I have it somewhere, but I did want to give a shout out. Dennis, I don't know if we skipped over it. He goes, thanks to Kenny Ueda for giving rides and Mr. KZ on the Glendora Mountain Run. For those that don't know, um, Kenny now has Mr. KZ. That's Johnny Gable's son, and in my back photo. But yeah, he actually is the caretaker of that historic vehicle to this day. And of course, knowing Kenny, and of course knowing his mom, still having that passion, he wants to make sure that he's bringing that to every event that he can. He also does an invite only Mr. K run in California that I've still yet to go to. But apparently, it is all the rage. If you are invited, I highly recommend attending that. But again, again, a big shout out to him. Johnny was a Johnny Gable, for those that don't, was Mr. K's secretary and was a face at ZCON almost every year. Unfortunately, she has now passed on. But
Mhm.
almost every time I go to Z convention, there's always somebody kind of talking about her, and I always love to kind of see her every year. And she was an amazing person.
Oh,
And again,
amazing.
just one of those things that as Z conventions happen every year, like I mentioned, it's kind of a homecoming. You do get into the point where you start talking about just amazing people that have come to ZCons for many years. And it's just like, you kind of get a remembrance of it. It's never sad. It's more of like a joyful thing. Some of the guys that I've met that came out of Texas, we've lost a lot of people over the years. But, you get together and we all just kind of remember that person, and it's always in good spirits. And it just, I mean, you're not going to experience that anywhere else, especially if you've gone over it all those years. So again, if you haven't attended a Z convention in the past, it is not. It's a closed group, but it's very opening. So if it's your first time going, believe me, you're going to leave there with meeting friends, meeting people, like-minded individuals, and it doesn't matter how obscure. There is people there that are as nerdy about certain things as you are, when it comes to that. So yeah. So if you haven't been to a Z convention yet and you're listening to this first time, again, this is a big hype on Z convention because we know how amazing
Yes.
it can be. Don't miss your opportunity to check out Tampa on this next upcoming year. For everybody that didn't get a chance to attend ZCon this year, you can go through some of our photos. Through our pages and of course through the Instagram, see some of our friends, or you can also check everything out from the ZCon folks, either through their Facebook or the Instagram or the ZCA. There are tons of photos out there available for the public to check it out, and it is all car nerd porn right now. So you definitely
it's
want to kind of jump on that if you get an opportunity.
it's
So
peak photographs when you're talking about the amazing builds. It's so fresh right now.
yeah,
Check your social media. You'll have some amazing photos to look at.
yeah, I highly
Yeah,
recommend
yeah,
that.
yeah.
So
Yeah. Honestly, man, I think that wraps up ZCon just a bit, man. I think we lied to our listeners though, man. We said this was gonna be a mini episode, man.
we
This is
never,
a
I
we
know,
never
we know,
it's
we lied, we lie a
suckers.
lot.
Yeah.
Sadly, I apologize. We didn't
You
mean
fell
to
for it. You
lie.
really thought? Oh man, you're so dumb. No, no,
Yeah.
no,
So
that's mean.
sadly, but again, I just wanted to give a reminder out there. Continue to support the community. Continue to support Nissan Nerd Podcast. Like, share, subscribe. You can contact us at Instagram, our YouTube channel, and then of course, if you have anything of content or stories that we need to know about, or you just have some really old footage, or you need help with something in the Nissan or Datsun or Infinity world, let us know. You can reach out to us at info@nissannerd.com. And Mike, you did have a bit of housekeeping. We recently got into, I guess, some Facebook trouble.
I,
So let Michael give you the update on that.
Sure, sure, sure. For those who follow us through Facebook, last week, specific, and of all times, I can't believe this. Last week, and it still may be ongoing, that our Nissan Nerd Facebook page has been unpublished by Nissan,
Facebook.
by Facebook, whatever algorithm or automated program they use to
Yeah. They tagged
monitor
us
and
from
enforce.
from the beginning of 2022.
Yep.
So that, I guess, they're on backlog, and so they slapped us on the hands and put us in Facebook jail for a little while.
Well,
So we're doing our best to protest, and we're going to try to work through that. So
yes, I'm currently working. I've sent out a few things to kind of get this thing resolved. The process, from what I did some research, it's not fast. So, as far as when our Facebook page will be reinstated, we really don't have a timeline on that. But what that means for you guys that are with us and for those who are listening to us, we definitely encourage you that if you really want to hear about updates and news from us, we are still very much active. Check us out on Instagram. You can, of course, just search Nissan Nerd Podcast and you can find us. The same goes for YouTube. As those for those who are watching us, we do these live streams through YouTube, and they are automatically placed into our catalog for you to watch on demand at your leisure. So, at the moment, Instagram and YouTube are the best two ways to find us. And once we get the Facebook uh, issue resolved, we will let you guys
We'll have
know.
the trio of power going again. So, but we like
Yes,
the Facebook. Sir, I mean, I'm
yeah,
old. Maybe it's
the Facebook.
such an old guy. I like the Facebooks. And then the Instagram is still fairly new to us, but we're catching up. And then of course the kids love the YouTubes. It sounds so
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
old.
It's like,
The kids like the
ah,
YouTubes. And so we can get on there and Twitter your Facebooks and what?
yeah, yeah. Well, and I should mention too. Again, this podcast also goes to all major podcast networks, like what is it? Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora. We're on all of them. So again, if you can't find us through anywhere else, but definitely check us out and look us up through Instagram and YouTube.
All right.
But you're right. What's the quote you keep on talking about? You're like,
Oh,
damn kids with
oh
their
no, it was like your Dan Fogelberg, your Zima hula hoops and your Dan Fogelberg. You damn kids, you'll never understand. But that's a
so
quote from a movie called Basketball by the
basketball.
South Park guys
The
did one.
South Park guys. Yeah,
But
yeah,
it's
yeah.
hilarious.
Whenever
Anyway,
you mention it, I crack up. So that's why. Yeah.
so on that note, we're going to go ahead and step away and shut down this mini episode today. Well, again, thank you guys for all your support. When you did see us out at ZCON, Mike said that he met tons of people and you were all
Yes.
glad handing him. And we love that stuff. And for those that I've kind of met throughout the week at these premieres for Nismo and Gran Turismo, again, thank you if you're listening to the show tonight. Our next episode we're going to be doing here next Thursday, so that'll be the 17th. Full episodes, which means we're adding on 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So we've got a lot to catch up. Tons of motorsports news that's coming from all aspects. We've got tons of Nissan news to kind of share with you. We probably won't recap ZCon because we did it all here this episode,
It's
but
done.
we've got tons of other events that are kind of coming your way that we want to keep you updated before we start getting into the end of summer. So again, we will keep you updated and chime in with us here again on August 17th, where our next episode. Other than that, Mike, I got nothing else. Until then, everybody
Mhm.
that's listening, get in your garage, make something cool. I like you better when you're in your garage. So,
Yes, absolutely. For those who are joining us, if you've got anything left, join us in a final kanpai. Let's ring it out. Again, we'll see you guys next week. There we go, guys. Smiles. Kanpai. Woo.
kampai. All right. Until then, get lost. Yeah, get lost and go. I don't know. We'll see you next time. Bye. Go. We don't leave. We
Bye.
go. Bye.